think adding on to what Anirban said, I think one key thing during the EU-ASEAN Youth Summit is it's really a culmination of all these different youth initiatives that have been happening in the past couple of months this year, right? We had the video that we recorded, it's not just coming out of IF, but we've also had representatives from the Youth Sounding Board or the EU-ASEAN Young Leaders Forum. And I think it's really meaningful. Plus, yesterday, to Anirban's point, it's like this human factor where it's no longer as working remotely, discussing matters, which is important because that takes time, and we can't. All of us are doing this out of voluntary, so we can't really fly ourselves to Brussels for 1 year to work in person, right? Not even if ASEF wants to sponsor it. So I think the human factor was really powerful yesterday, and it's not just the youth coming together. Yesterday, when we combined our recommendations, we all had breakout sessions where we got to discuss the youth recommendations further, refine it better, and there we had senior representatives from different organizations as well, and who are people who are based in different parts of Europe. And it's really valuable because of course youth voices need to be heard, but at the same time we also need to balance it with nuances with what's really happening in policymaking today. So having this kind of in-person meaningful, like in-depth discussion and exchange between the senior leaders as well as the, to your words, young budding leaders really helps get to, it's a term that people use it a lot today, but it really improves what they call intergenerational equity in policymaking, which, so I think that to me, that was the significance of yesterday's summit, to really bring everyone together, for the first time, and show that there is a potential for even better discourse going forward in the future years as well.
Yeah, that intergenerational dialogue is so important, especially for that human connection, because it's so much easier to get your point across when you're sat next to a decision maker rather than them receiving like a report or a document with recommendations, when they can actually talk to young people and hear what the challenges are, what the barriers, what young people want, what the youth perspective on different issues is, then I think it's much more valuable and much more memorable for them and can have a greater impact in their decision-making process, which we should be part of as well.
Yep. I just wanted to add as well, where, the human part of things, it's this kind of recommendations, use perspectives. It's very easy. It's very easy for us to put it across in online channels, 2D matters, but when you do it in person in a 3D, or what do you call it, 4D? I don't know. In person, essentially, I think it makes the stakes a lot higher, because when you talk to the person directly, you can see where the person is coming from. There's emotions in it. It's not just a recommendation because I want to put a recommendation in, but it's because maybe it really affects people from my region or from my country or my peers over here. So I think like the in-person element, hopefully COVID gets better, and I think that really contributes.
Of course, yes, definitely. Since we're here, we've come together. It's great to be in person, exactly. And I think this whole forum has been a great representation of young people coming together for multilateralism, right? That's really the aim here. One of the main overarching aims. What do you want to see more of, or how can we increase further the youth engagement in multilateralism? It's a topic we touched on during the program a little bit as well. But what are your thoughts? What are your takeaways on this topic? Anirban, you want to start?
Certainly, I feel the youth engagement in multilateral processes, it assumes special significance in the post-pandemic world order, because we have heard so much of discourse in the past few years that multilateralism itself is under challenge in our current day and time. So how do you make people back home feel like that multilateral forums are somewhere they should be investing their diplomatic resources, their time, because during the pandemic you did see that the legitimacy was affected of many multilateral institutions because they were not able to address the challenges. They were not able to convince the masses that your voice is there. The public was not convinced that hey, they have a voice. So involving the youth in these multilateral processes, it will not only make the discourses more richer, they would have, you already saw the kind of recommendations we placed, that shows what we can contribute to these multilateral processes. Certainly, that is one thing. And second is that it would make these processes far more inclusive. People back home, we would have a much easier time to convince people back home that, this is something you should take an interest in.
Yeah.
This is our forum. And as I'm coming from India, our approach since a long time, since an ancient times, is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which is that the world is our family. The world is one family. Yeah. Therefore, who else to take forward that message other than the youth, right?
Yeah, I like that. That's such a good point. The world being the world is a family.
The world is one family.
The world is one family. Yeah, I'm gonna remember that one. That's for sure.